should understand.
So as we saw there, a few of the clips that I really like that are the last bit when he says no mas and no more. It really puts into perspective to me how difficult it is for him to have to deal with all of the abuse that he goes through. And like, do you guys play sports? Do you guys play sports?
Yeah.
Do you like playing sports?
Yeah.
Well, I think that these people do too, and it's like you saw them picking up the ball and taking it off the field. They don't, like, that's what they love to do, and they can't do it anymore because of what they have to deal with. So I think that really shows how the players aren't able to play to their full potential. Now we're going to go over to the three contributors of racism, being the crowds, referees, and the players. And we saw in the video, you saw a lot of the Hitler salutes from the crowds, and that goes on in nearly every single game that's played in Europe. And also in a picture before, you saw a man giving the Heil Hitler salute. This is a different one. In soccer, celebrating a goal is an extremely common thing, and that's what you do when you score a goal. You take your shirt off and run around and things like that. And now, unfortunately, a really common way of celebrating in present day is people still taking off their shirts and then giving the Heil Hitler salute back to the fans, which really, to me, it just makes it just, it's horrible, just because to have to deal with that continuously is just, it would be too much for, I know, me and all these other players. Now, before I started my project, I wanted to know, why is there so much racism in European soccer? Because what is basically taboo in the US, like, if you have ever watched an NBA game or an NFL game or a hockey game or anything like that, you don't hear people chanting when a black player gets the ball or gets the puck or anything like that, and you don't see bananas being thrown on the field, you don't see peanuts being thrown on the field. And I wondered why, why is it so different here than it is over there? And it's because I'm sure you guys have learned a lot about the civil rights movement in the 60s that happened here. In Europe, there has been no form of a civil rights movement, so because there's so few black immigrants, and so to me that's probably the biggest contributor to why there is so much racism in European soccer, because nobody says, hey, that's wrong, stop that, because it's just accepted over there. All right, now in the video we saw that the two cases were from Spain and Italy, and these are the two most openly racist countries in the world, and specifically in Europe. And they also, what I found through my research is that they have the fewest amount of black players throughout the leagues, and that's because nobody wants to go to a place where they're going to be hated on, and nobody wants to go to a place where they're just going to get abused day in and day out. And that it really struck home with me, just because there's not as many job opportunities now for black players, because it's limited to so few amount of countries. And these two countries have some of the best leagues in the world, and some of the best players don't want to play there because they know what they're going to get and they know what's coming. Now, in the video, we also saw some bananas being thrown on the field, and then the salutes coming from the crowds. And then this banner, to me, really, every time I see it, it just sort of gets me, just because it says, peanuts and bananas are the pay for your infamy. And if you don't know what infamy is, it's sort of like being known for something that's really bad, and in this case, being black. So the reason that people are showering him with bananas and peanuts, showering them with bananas and peanuts, are because simply of the color of their skin, something that they can't control, something that they were born with. All right, now we're gonna move on to referees. We're going to talk about one specific instance, which is this, that happened between this referee, the man in the black. His name is Mark Clattenburg. He's an English referee. And this player, who's Nigerian, his name is John Obi Mikel, and he plays for the English team Chelsea. And in sports, I think we all can agree that referees really do control the outcome of a game sometimes, whether we like it or not. And so when you have a racist referee, somebody that has a pre-decision going into the game that says, I'm gonna make it harder for you to play because you're black, it really doesn't make it fair, and that's what happened in this specific game. So this game was the FA Cup final, which is basically the English League final, which here would be like the Super Bowl. It's a really big deal over there, and what happened was Mark Clattenburg, the English referee, it was rumored that he was saying to John Obi Mikel, the Nigerian player for Chelsea over here, that he was calling him the N-word and he was calling him a monkey. And there was a specific play where he, like, it's kind of hard to explain, but he slid into somebody on the opposing team, and it was a clean tackle, it was clean, everything was fine, but he called it and gave John Obi Mikel a red card. And it was just, everyone could tell it was an unfair call. People were, after the game, that's why the rumors came up that he was calling him these names, because they found out that he was obviously racist. And so his team, Chelsea, ended up losing the match because of what happened. They were down a man, and the other team, Manchester United, ended up scoring a goal. And so this is just another reason how black players are clearly put at a disadvantage when they step into a stadium in Europe. Now we're going to move on to players, and this was a really big shock to me because, as we heard in the video, players of your own team will, and your crowds will, chant at you and, sort of provoke the racism that goes on throughout the stadium. And so what you see here is the two pictures that we saw before, the Heil Hitler salutes, and it's just really disturbing, at least to me, to look at, just because I couldn't imagine doing what you really like to do, going to your job, what you do every day, and seeing this every time you get the ball or every time the opposing team scores a goal. And like I was talking about before, it's become a really common goal celebration now. And what they do is they try to provoke the fans to do it even more, to sort of get in the black players' minds. And then this is a specific incident that happened between a black player here. His name is Patrice Evra. Up here, he's from France. And then a Uruguayan player, Luis Suarez, who's right here. And now before a soccer game, every player shakes the opposing team's hands and wishes them good luck. And before this game, Luis Suarez, he didn't, as you can see here, he didn't shake Patrice Evra's hand. And everyone was like, okay, that's kind of weird, I wonder what that's about. And so then throughout the game, you saw things like this. We call it trash talk here. In Europe, they call it chirping. And it's sort of I think everybody trash talks, where you say oh, you suck, or things like that, you know what I mean? But here we saw it was rumored after the game that he was, before, the referee calling Patrice Evra names like monkey and the N-word and things like that. And what happened with John Obi Mikel, Patrice Evra went into a tackle with Luis Suarez and completely took him out and took out his legs, and he got a red card for it. And so that was a 2-game suspension. Then after the game, they asked him, why did you do that? Why'd you take him out like that? And he said, I just couldn't take it anymore, he was getting to me. And so that's just another case of how black players can't function psychologically in a game. Oh, and so now for my service project. So like I was saying before, you help out the community in a way that relates to your project. And so what I did was, or what I'm going to do, is hold a 3v3 soccer tournament and the proceeds will go to a diversity club at Sion. And so I think it's going to be a good way to show people how much fun soccer is, but at the same time give money back to people at Sion. And so my conclusion is just that black players can't play to their full potential due to racism that they're continuously showered by crowds, referees, and other players. And this is the second time I've given this presentation, and a few times that I've seen these videos now, and they still really get to me just because it's hard for me to imagine having to play through that. And so based on the video evidence that we saw, it's pretty clear that black players can't play to their full potential. There's not enough job opportunities for them because of the limited amount of countries that they can play in. And that's it. Thank you.
Question.
Do you have any questions?
So, is it only in soccer or is there other sports?
That's really the only thing that I studied was soccer, just because I'm a soccer player and I really love it. But what I did was, throughout my research, I saw that it does happen in other sports, but soccer really is the biggest sport in Europe, whereas here we have football, basketball, kind of soccer, I guess. But in Europe, that's soccer, soccer, soccer. That's really all they play. So there aren't many players of color in other leagues, I guess you could say. So to answer your question, soccer is the main contributor of it. All right, thanks, guys.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
What lessons did you learn from this that you can make a positive difference? Because we have racism over here.
Mm-hmm.
And what contributions can you make over here to make a difference? So this won't perpetuate over here, even though it exists over here,
Yeah.
so they won't filter over to the United States.
Yeah,
the way it does.
I got this question before actually, and the biggest reason why there is no racism in soccer in Europe is because there hasn't been a civil rights movement there yet, and so because there's such a lack of black immigrants because they don't want to go there, and I think that's why we have less of it over here, is because we've had a civil rights movement that happened not too long ago, but I guess kind of long ago. And I still, this past weekend I had a game and people trash talked me a lot, and I got called the N-word a few times in the game, and what I like to do is I sort of block it out and sort of think about the people that really fought through it and the people that really made a difference a long time ago. And so the players over there, they don't have that, I don't think. They don't have somebody that they can look up to and say, they can do it, so I can do it. So I think a lot of what happens over there, they just say, all right, forget it, I'm done. But what happens over here, like I really think you just have to keep fighting through it. Yeah.
Other question? Sorry.
So your experiences, so you would be fair to say that racism still exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's very prevalent.
Yeah.
In our community.
I've been playing soccer all my life, and it really started happening it happens probably once every 5 games or so, and I've played probably hundreds of games throughout my career. I'm usually the only black player on the field. For some reason, I actually don't even know why, but it happens a lot today still.
Takes a lot of courage.
My phone's in class with
Yeah. Any more? Alright, thanks guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex.
Yes, you do.
FYI, Alex's dad and I went to